The war had been going on for 47 years. Every species in the galaxy knew about it. Some fought in it, others hid from it. But everyone felt its effects. The hierarchy and the Accord hated each other. Nobody remembered how it started anymore. Maybe it was about territory. Maybe it was about old insults. Maybe both sides just wanted power. It did not matter now. What mattered was that thousands of worlds burned while the fighting continued. Admiral Sarah Okonkwo stood at the window of Earth's orbital station, looking down at the blue planet below. Behind her, the council chamber buzzed with nervous voices. Another meeting. Another attempt to bring peace. She knew it would fail like all the others. "They will never agree," said Ambassador Chen Wei, walking up beside her. He was an old man now with gray hair and tired eyes. He had spent 20 years trying to end this war. "The hierarchy thinks they own the galaxy. The Accord thinks they deserve to own it," Sarah nodded. "And Earth stays out of it." "We have to," Chen said quietly. "We are too small, too new. We have only been in space for 200 years. They have been out here for thousands." It was true. Humanity was young compared to the other species. The hierarchy looked at humans like children. The Accord thought they were useful but weak. Both sides agreed on one thing. Humanity did not matter in the big picture. But both sides also respected the Terran Compact. It was a treaty that made Earth and its colonies neutral ground. No fighting near human worlds. No dragging humanity into the war. In return, humans helped both sides. They carried messages between enemies. They treated wounded soldiers from both armies. They provided food and medicine. Sarah's second-in-command, Captain Marcus Stone, entered the chamber. He looked worried. "Admiral, we have a problem," he said. "The Nightingale is in danger." The Nightingale was one of Earth's hospital ships. It carried 12,000 patients right now, sick and wounded from dozens of species. The ship flew through war zones because both sides promised to respect medical vessels. It was supposed to be safe. What kind of danger? Sarah asked, feeling ice form in her stomach. "A hierarchy battle fleet is chasing Accord ships through Sector 7. The Nightingale is right in their path." Sarah and Chen exchanged looks. This had happened before. Usually the warring fleets went around hospital ships. It was basic galactic law. Even in war, you did not shoot at doctors. "Contact the hierarchy commander," Sarah ordered. "Remind them about the medical protection laws." Marcus nodded and left. Chen stayed beside Sarah, both of them staring down at Earth. "Sometimes I wonder if we are doing the right thing," Chen said softly, "staying neutral while others suffer." Sarah understood his feelings. She had a son on the Nightingale. He was a nurse helping wounded aliens from both sides. She was proud of him. But she also worried every single day. "We do what we can," she replied. "We save lives. We keep our people safe." "Is that not enough?" "I hope so," Chen said. "I hope we never have to find out what happens if someone breaks the compact." Deep below Earth's surface, in bunkers that few people knew about, machines hummed in the darkness. They had been humming for 200 years. Building, preparing, waiting. The other species thought humans were peaceful because they were weak. They did not understand. Humans were peaceful because they chose to be, because they remembered their own terrible history, because they knew what total war meant. But humans also remembered another lesson from their history. Hope for peace, but prepare for war. Sarah had seen the industrial sectors once. Only the highest-ranking officers knew about them. Miles and miles of construction facilities floating in dark space hidden from sensors. She had walked through shipyards the size of cities, filled with vessels that gleamed in the artificial light. "What are those for?" she had asked her predecessor, the old admiral who showed her the secret. "Insurance," he had said. "Pray we never need to cash it in." That was 10 years ago. Sarah had prayed every day since then. She prayed the compact would hold. She prayed both sides would respect humanity's neutrality. She prayed her son would come home safe from his medical missions. Now she stood at the window watching Earth spin slowly below, and she prayed again. Marcus returned to the chamber. His face was pale. "Admiral, I reached the hierarchy fleet. Their commander is Admiral Kratok. He says the Nightingale is near enemy vessels. He demands the ship power down for inspection." Sarah felt her blood turn cold. "That is illegal. Hospital ships are protected." "I told him that, ma'am. He does not care. He says if the Nightingale does not comply, he will fire warning shots." Chen grabbed Sarah's arm. My daughter is on that ship. She is a doctor." Sarah looked at him. She saw the same fear in his eyes that she felt in her heart. Their children were out there. Thousands of humans were out there. All of them trusted the galaxy to follow its own laws. "Tell Captain Rodriguez on the Nightingale to hold course," Sarah said, her voice steady despite her fear. "Tell him to broadcast his medical status on all channels. Both sides promise to respect medical vessels. We have to trust the compact." Marcus hesitated. "And if they do not?" Sarah looked back down at Earth, the blue planet that humanity had almost destroyed once long ago, the home they had learned to protect, the world they would do anything to keep safe. "Then," she said quietly, "they will learn that humanity's patience has limits." She did not know it yet, but those words would soon become prophecy. The galaxy was about to learn a terrible truth. The worst mistake you can make is to push a peaceful people too far. Captain Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the Nightingale, watching the hierarchy fleet approach. His hands were steady, but his heart was racing. Behind him, his crew worked quietly at their stations. Everyone knew what was happening. "Sir, they are targeting us," said his weapons officer. The Nightingale had no weapons, but the station still tracked enemy systems. "Weapons are hot. Broadcast our medical status again," Rodriguez ordered. "Make sure every ship in this sector knows we are a protected vessel." The communications officer nodded, her fingers flying across the controls. The same message went out that had been going out for the last hour. Hospital ship. 12,000 patients aboard. Protected under galactic law. In the medical bays below, doctors and nurses worked on their patients. They came from every species in the galaxy. Hierarchy soldiers with broken bones. Accord pilots with radiation sickness. Civilians caught in the crossfire. The Nightingale did not care which side you fought for. If you were hurt, they helped you. Dr. Mei Chen checked on a young hierarchy soldier. He had lost his arm in a battle 3 days ago. She had given him new synthetic tissue. It would grow into a new arm over time. He looked up at her with grateful eyes. "Thank you, doctor," he said in broken English. "You saved me," Mei smiled. "That is my job." She did not tell him that her father was Ambassador Chen Wei. She did not tell him that she had left Earth 5 years ago because she wanted to help people, not talk about politics. She just did her work and moved to the next patient. Above the ship, Admiral Kratok sat in his command chair, watching the Nightingale on his screens. His second officer stood beside him, looking uncomfortable. "Sir, they are broadcasting medical protection status," the officer said. "We cannot fire on them." "It is against every law," Kratok made a dismissive gesture. "They are sheltering our enemies. The Accord ships went through this sector. The humans might be hiding them." "Sir, our sensors show no other ships, just the Nightingale." "Then they will not mind if we inspect them." The second officer hesitated. "The Terran Compact says we cannot board their ships without permission." Kratok turned to look at his officer. His eyes were cold. "The humans are weak. They hide behind their treaties and their laws. They think we will always respect their neutrality. Perhaps it is time to teach them that neutrality has a cost." Back on Earth's orbital station, Sarah watched the situation unfold on her screens. Marcus stood beside her, his face grim. The hierarchy fleet had stopped, surrounding the Nightingale like predators around prey. "They are charging weapons," Marcus said quietly. "They would not dare," Chen said, but his voice shook. "The whole galaxy would condemn them." Sarah said nothing. She had been in the military for 30 years. She had studied every species, every culture, every commander. She knew what pride and anger could make people do. She knew that laws only mattered if people chose to follow them. "Get me the Earth Parliament," she said. Now, on the Nightingale, alarms started blaring. Rodriguez looked at his tactical officer in shock. "They fired," the officer said, his voice filled with disbelief. "Warning shots, they say. But they are coming close. Too close." Rodriguez grabbed his communications. "All hands, brace for impact. Medical teams, secure your patients." The first shot missed by 50 meters. The second hit the ship's outer hull, tearing through empty cargo bays. The third shot went straight through the medical section. The explosion was massive. Deck 7 disintegrated. Deck 8 collapsed. Fire and vacuum spread through the ship. 12,000 people were on board. In seconds, thousands died. Dr. Mei Chen was helping a patient when the blast hit. She did not feel pain. One moment she was there, the next she was gone, along with 891 other humans. along with almost 2,000 aliens who had trusted the galaxy to protect them. Rodriguez survived. His bridge crew survived, but as damage reports came in, he fell to his knees. Nearly 3,000 dead. His ship, his patients, his people, gone. Send a distress signal, he whispered. Tell Earth what happened. Tell them. He could not finish. There were no words. Sarah received the message 10 minutes later. She read the casualty list. She saw her son's name, Michael Okonkwo, age 26, nurse, dead. She did not cry, not yet. She turned to Chen Wei and saw the same terrible knowledge in his eyes. His daughter was on that list too. I am sorry, she said softly. Chen nodded slowly. He looked like he had aged 20 years in 20 seconds. What do we do? Sarah looked at the screens. The hierarchy fleet was leaving. Kraytok had sent a message saying it was a tragic accident. The weapons officer had made a mistake. He regretted the loss of life, an accident. He called it an accident. Marcus's voice was cold. The Accord is offering to share their sensor data. They say it was deliberate. They say Kraytok targeted the medical bay on purpose. Sarah stood up. Every eye in the command center turned to her. She looked at each of her officers in turn. These people trusted her. Earth trusted her. Her son had trusted her to keep him safe. She had failed. No, the galaxy had failed. The hierarchy had failed. Kraytok had failed, and now everyone would pay the price. Contact Earth Parliament, she said, her voice hard as iron. Tell them I am requesting immediate activation of Protocol Sierra. Marcus's eyes went wide. Admiral, are you sure? That protocol. It changes everything. Everything already changed, Sarah said. They crossed a line that should never be crossed. They killed our children while they healed the wounded. They spat on every value we hold dear. Chen Wei put a hand on her shoulder. His voice was quiet but firm. I second her request. Take it to Parliament. Let Earth decide. In the Parliament building on Earth, representatives gathered in emergency session. They watched the footage from the Nightingale. They saw the explosions. They read the casualty lists. They listened to Sarah's request. The debate lasted 3 hours. Some wanted to stay neutral. Some wanted to seek justice through galactic courts. Some wanted revenge. In the end, the vote was unanimous. Every single representative voted yes. Protocol Sierra was activated. In secret facilities all over Earth's system, lights came on. Machines that had been waiting for 200 years roared to life. Shipyards opened. Weapons platforms activated. And the fleet that humanity had built in silence, the fleet that was their insurance policy, began to move. The galaxy had called humanity weak, called them naive, called them children. They were about to learn the truth. Humanity had never been weak. They had been patient. And their patience had just run out. The first thing the galaxy noticed was the silence. Earth stopped all diplomatic communications. Human hospital ships returned to Earth space. Trade convoys came home. Every human in neutral territory received the same message: return to Earth immediately. The hierarchy thought humanity was scared. The Accord thought they were mourning. Both were wrong. In a dark region of space far beyond Earth's outermost colonies, something stirred. These coordinates were marked on no maps. No civilian ships ever came here. Even Earth's government barely acknowledged this place existed. This was where Protocol Sierra lived. Admiral Sarah Okonkwo stood in the command center of a facility that should not exist. Around her, thousands of officers worked at their stations. Above them, through the massive viewport, ships were moving into formation. Fleet status? Sarah asked. All capital ships ready, Admiral, replied her tactical officer. 400 battleships, 2,000 destroyers, 50,000 strike craft. Every single vessel is operational. Marcus Stone stood beside her, staring at the fleet with wide eyes. 200 years, he said softly. We built this for 200 years? Since the day we met the first alien species, Sarah confirmed. Our leaders knew we would need it eventually. We just hoped that day would never come. The ships were unlike anything the galaxy had seen. Human engineering had always been different. Other species built for honor and glory. Humans built for victory. Every vessel was designed with one purpose: to win. Chen Wei entered the command center. He looked older now, broken by grief, but his eyes burned with purpose. The Parliament has given you full authority, Admiral. Earth is behind you. Sarah nodded. What about the galactic community? Any response to our demands? The hierarchy refuses to hand over Admiral Kraytok, Chen said bitterly. They say we should accept their apology and move on. They say it was a mistake. And the accord? They offer sympathy. They say they will remember our sacrifice, but they will not help us. Sarah had expected this. The galaxy saw humans as useful but unimportant. Medical ships and trade goods were nice, but nobody thought humanity could actually fight. They did not know about the fleet. They did not know about the plans. They did not know that humans had studied every war in galactic history. Every battle, every tactic, every weakness. Then we do this alone, Sarah said. Ready the fleet for first strike operations. In the hierarchy capital, Admiral Kratok received a medal for his victory against the Accord. The death of the Nightingale was barely mentioned. A tragic accident, his government said. These things happen in war. Kratok stood before his emperor, his chest covered in honors, and felt proud. The humans had been useful once, but they were getting too confident. Too comfortable. Perhaps their loss would teach them to be grateful for the hierarchy's protection. He had no idea that 12 human strike forces were moving into position around 12 different hierarchy military bases. He had no idea that human intelligence officers had been mapping every hierarchy installation for 2 centuries. He had no idea that humanity was about to change everything. The attack came at dawn, hierarchy standard time. 12 military bases, 12 simultaneous strikes, fast, brutal, and precise. The hierarchy base at Kelmar III was the first to die. Human destroyers jumped in at close range, their weapons already firing. They did not target cities or civilians. They hit shipyards, weapons depots, and command centers. 30 minutes later, they jumped out. The base was destroyed. 0 civilian casualties. At Vracon Station, hierarchy defenders tried to fight back. They found human tactics confusing. The human ships did not stand and trade fire. They moved constantly, striking from unexpected angles. They used electronic warfare that blinded sensors. They coordinated their attacks with computer precision. The station fell in an hour. Across 12 systems, the pattern repeated. Human forces struck hard and fast, then vanished before reinforcements could arrive. They left behind burning bases and a clear message. This was only the beginning. The galaxy watched in shock. The weak humans had a fleet. A powerful fleet. And they knew how to use it. The Hierarchy Emergency Council met in panic. How did the humans hide this many ships? Where did they come from? And more importantly, what did they want? The answer came from Admiral Sarah Okonkwo herself. Her message was broadcast across the entire galaxy. To the hierarchy leadership, she said, her voice cold and clear, you murdered 3,000 people who were healing your wounded. You broke the oldest laws of war. You destroyed a hospital ship and called it an accident. We do not accept your apology. We do not forgive. We demand justice. She paused, letting her words sink in. Admiral Kratok and every officer who participated in the attack on the Nightingale will stand trial for war crimes. You have 72 hours to comply. If you refuse, we will come and take them. And we will destroy everything between us and them. You taught the galaxy that mercy is weakness. Now we will teach you that humanity remembers its lessons. You have 72 hours. Choose wisely. The message ended. The Hierarchy Council erupted in argument. Some wanted to negotiate. Some wanted to fight. Some wanted to hand over Kratok and end this before it got worse. The Emperor made the decision. We will not bow to human threats. They are a minor species. They got lucky with a few raids. If they want war, we will crush them. Kratok sat in that meeting, his metals suddenly feeling heavy. He had watched the footage of the human attacks. The precision, the speed, the complete dominance. These were not the actions of lucky amateurs. For the first time, he felt afraid. On Earth, Sarah received the hierarchy's response. They refused her demands. She had expected this too. Pride and arrogance. The hierarchy could not admit that they were wrong. Could not accept that the weak humans might actually be a threat. They want to learn the hard way, Marcus said. Then we teach them, Sarah replied. She turned to her fleet commanders. Begin Phase 2. Cut their supply lines. Hit their logistics. Make them feel the cost of this war. All across the galaxy, human forces went into action. They were not trying to conquer territory. They were not trying to win glory. They were teaching a lesson about what happens when you hurt humans. The Accord watched with nervous excitement. Perhaps the humans would be their allies. Perhaps this was their chance to win the war. But when Accord diplomats approached Earth with offers of alliance, they received a simple reply. No. We are not fighting your war. We are settling our debt. Do not interfere. The Accord pulled back, confused. The humans were not trying to join either side. They were fighting their own war with their own rules, and the galaxy was starting to understand something terrifying. Humanity did not fight like other species. They did not care about honor or glory or conquest. They cared about results. And they were very, very good at getting them. In the dark command center, Sarah looked at the strategic map. Red markers showed hierarchy positions. Blue markers showed human forces. Green markers showed her objectives. Her son's face appeared in her mind. Michael, age 26, who had wanted to be a nurse because he wanted to help people. Who had believed in the goodness of the galaxy. Who had died because someone decided that medical ships did not matter. For Michael, she whispered. For May. For all of them. Around her, the fleet moved into position. The sleeping giant had awakened, and it was very, very angry. 3 weeks into the war, the hierarchy was beginning to understand their mistake. Human forces were everywhere and nowhere. They did not fight like any enemy the hierarchy had faced before. At the Battle of Kelros, a hierarchy fleet of 60 ships waited to ambush human forces. They had studied the previous attacks. They knew the humans would come. They were ready. The humans never showed up. Instead, they hit 3 supply depots behind hierarchy lines. Without fuel and ammunition, the 60 ships could not fight. They had to retreat. The hierarchy learned. Humans did not fight the battles you wanted. They fought the battles that mattered. Admiral Kratok stood in his command center, looking at the strategic map with growing horror. Every supply line was under attack. Every convoy needed heavy escort. Every base was constantly on alert. The humans were not trying to destroy the hierarchy fleet. They were making it impossible for the fleet to function. They are cutting us apart piece by piece, his second officer said. We cannot maintain our war with the Accord and fight the humans at the same time. Then we make peace with the Accord, Kratok said. The Accord will not negotiate. They see us weakening. They are pushing their advantage. Kratok felt the walls closing in. Before the humans entered the war, the hierarchy was winning. Now everything was falling apart. Contact Earth. Tell them we will negotiate. The human response came from Admiral Sarah Okonkwo. There is nothing to negotiate. Hand over the war criminals or we continue. Kratok made one last attempt. I am willing to face trial, but I want guarantees. A fair hearing. Respect for my rank. Sarah's reply was ice cold. You will get the same justice you gave our medical personnel. No more, no less, the hierarchy refused. They would not hand over their admiral. Instead, they tried to fight back. They gathered their remaining strength and launched a major offensive against human positions. The humans melted away like smoke. Every position the hierarchy attacked was already abandoned. Every base was already empty. The hierarchy fleet found nothing but air. Meanwhile, human forces hit 6 major hierarchy industrial worlds, not the cities. Not civilians. They destroyed factories, refineries, and shipyards, the places where the hierarchy built their war machine. On Earth, Sarah watched the reports with satisfaction. They are learning, she said to Marcus. Slowly, but they are learning. Learning what, Admiral? That they cannot win. Not against us, not the way they fight wars. Marcus looked at the casualty reports. Human losses were minimal. A few ships damaged. A handful of pilots lost. Meanwhile, the hierarchy was bleeding from 1,000 cuts. Why are we so much better at this? Marcus asked. Sarah pulled up historical files on her screen. Videos from Earth's past. Wars that humans had fought against each other. Terrible conflicts that had almost destroyed their world. Because we learned our lessons, she said quietly. We know what total war looks like. We know how to destroy supply lines, how to break morale, how to make an enemy give up without fighting major battles. We spent centuries perfecting these tactics on each other. And now we use them on the galaxy. Now we use them to protect ourselves, Sarah corrected. The hierarchy thought mercy was weakness. They thought healing the wounded was foolish. They thought we would always turn the other cheek. They were wrong. Across the galaxy, other species watched the war with growing nervousness. If the humans could do this to the hierarchy, what could they do to anyone? The Accord sent another diplomatic mission to Earth. This time they offered technology, resources, territory, anything the humans wanted if they would join the Accord against the hierarchy. Ambassador Chenwei met them personally. He had aged even more in the past weeks. His daughter's death had hollowed him out. But his voice was steady. "We do not want your territory," he said. "We do not want your technology. We want one thing, justice. When Kratok and his officers stand trial, when they answer for their crimes, then we talk about peace. Until then, stay out of our way." The Accord diplomats left, frustrated and confused. The humans were winning. Why would they not press their advantage? Why would they not try to gain something from this? They did not understand. Humanity was not fighting for gain. They were fighting for principle. On a hierarchy world called Vrakon Prime, something unexpected happened. The local population rose up against their government. They were tired of the war, tired of losing, tired of watching their ships get destroyed while their leaders refused to admit defeat. "Hand over the war criminals," the crowds chanted. "End this madness." The hierarchy government sent soldiers to stop the protests. The soldiers refused. Some of them had been patients on the Nightingale. They had been healed by human doctors. They remembered the kindness they had received. "We will not fight for leaders who murder healers," one soldier said. "If the humans want justice, they should have it." Sarah watched the reports of the uprising with mixed feelings. This was good. The hierarchy was cracking from within, but she also knew that civil unrest meant civilian suffering, and humans, even in war, did not like to see innocent people suffer. "Send humanitarian aid to Vrakon Prime," she ordered. "Food, medicine, whatever they need. Make sure everyone knows it comes from Earth." Marcus stared at her. "Admiral, they are the enemy." "Their leaders are the enemy," Sarah corrected. "The people are just caught in the middle. If we can win their hearts, the war ends faster." It was a strategy the galaxy had never seen. Fight the military. Help the civilians. Show that you were not monsters, just people demanding justice. On Vrakon Prime, when human aid ships arrived, the population wept with gratitude. Here was proof that the humans were not trying to destroy them. They were only trying to right a terrible wrong. More hierarchy worlds began to question their government. More protests erupted. More soldiers refused to fight. The hierarchy was not just losing the war. It was losing its own people. Admiral Kratok watched his empire crumble. He sat in his quarters, his medals on the table before him. He had thought he was a hero. Now he was a war criminal. He had thought the attack on the Nightingale would show strength. Instead, it had brought destruction to his people. He reached out to his second officer. "Contact Admiral Okonkwo. Tell her I will surrender, on one condition." "What condition, sir?" "That the war ends. No more attacks on hierarchy worlds. No more suffering. I will face trial if the humans stop the fighting." Sarah received the message and called a meeting of Earth's War Council. They debated for hours. Some wanted to continue until the hierarchy government fell completely. Some wanted unconditional surrender. Chen Wei spoke quietly. "We started this for justice, not revenge. If Kratok faces trial, we have won." Sarah thought about her son, about all the people who had died, about all the people still dying in this war. "Very well," she said. "We accept. But there are conditions. Kratok and every officer involved in the attack surrender immediately. They face trial on neutral ground, and the hierarchy government publicly admits what they did." The message went back to Kratok. He sat for a long time staring at the words. Then he stood, put on his uniform one last time, and walked to the shuttle that would take him to Earth custody. His empire was defeated. His reputation was destroyed, but at least his people would have peace. As his shuttle left hierarchy space, he looked back at his homeworld. He wondered if he would ever see it again. He wondered if history would remember him as a monster, or as someone who had made a terrible mistake. Sarah watched the shuttle approach Earth space. Inside was the man who had killed her son, the man who had destroyed the Nightingale, the man who had started this entire war. "Bring him to the detention facility," she ordered. "Make sure he is treated properly. No revenge. No cruelty. Just justice." Marcus looked at her with respect. "That takes strength, Admiral." "Strength is not about revenge," Sarah said quietly. "It is about knowing when to stop. We won. Now we have to prove we are better than what we are fighting against." The galaxy watched as Admiral Kratok was taken into custody. The human fleet stopped its attacks. The war was not over, but it was ending. And everyone knew. Humanity had changed the balance of power in the galaxy forever. Admiral Kratok stood in chains before the Galactic Tribunal. The courtroom was on a neutral station, filled with representatives from every major species. Cameras broadcast the trial across the entire galaxy. Sarah sat in the front row watching. Beside her, Chen Wei waited silently. They had both earned the right to be here. To see justice served, the prosecutor presented evidence, sensor logs from the Accord showing that Kratok had deliberately targeted the medical base, communications records proving he knew the Nightingale was a protected vessel, testimony from his own crew members who had protested the order. Kratok's defense was simple. It was war. Mistakes happen. The humans were too close to enemy forces. He was protecting his fleet. The judges listened to both sides. They were not human. They represented the galactic community. This trial had to be fair, had to be just, or it meant nothing. After 3 days of testimony, the judges delivered their verdict. Guilty. War crimes. Deliberately targeting protected medical personnel. 3,000 counts of murder. The sentence was life imprisonment. Kratok would spend the rest of his days in a galactic prison, his name forever marked with shame. As guards led him away, Kratok looked at Sarah. Their eyes met for a moment. She saw no remorse there, no understanding. Just anger that he had been caught, that he had lost. Sarah felt nothing. No satisfaction, no joy. Her son was still dead. May was still dead. 3,000 people were still gone. The trial did not bring them back. It just made sure their deaths meant something. Outside the courtroom, reporters surrounded Sarah and Chen. Questions flew like bullets. What would Earth do now? Would they join the Accord? Would they demand territory from the hierarchy? Chen Wei raised his hand for silence. His voice carried across the crowd. Earth wants nothing except what we always wanted, peace. We did not fight this war for conquest. We fought for justice. Now that justice is served, we return to neutrality. Both the hierarchy and the Accord are welcome to resume diplomatic relations with Earth. But let this be a lesson to everyone. Humanity's patience has limits. Cross them at your peril. The reporters were confused. Humanity had won. They had the most powerful fleet anyone had seen in decades. Why would they not use that power? Sarah answered simply, because power is not about what you can take. It is about what you choose to protect. We protected our values. We protected justice. That is enough. Back on Earth, the fleet began to stand down. Most ships returned to their hidden facilities. They would remain there ready but waiting. A reminder to the galaxy that humanity could fight if they needed to, but they would rather not. In Parliament, representatives debated what to do next. The war between the hierarchy and the Accord was still going on. Both sides wanted human support. The vote was close, but the decision was made. Earth would return to neutrality, but with conditions. Both sides had to respect medical vessels. Both sides had to allow human observers at battles. Both sides had to follow the rules of war, or humanity would intervene again. The galaxy agreed. They had seen what happened when you broke the rules. Nobody wanted to fight humans again. Sarah retired from active duty 6 months after the trial. She had served Earth for 30 years and she was tired. She moved to a quiet colony world where she could see the stars at night. On the anniversary of the Nightingale attack, she visited a memorial that Earth had built. 3,000 names carved in stone. Her son's name was there, along with Mei Chen's, along with every person who had died that day. She placed flowers at the base of the memorial and stood in silence. Around her, other families did the same. Parents who had lost children, children who had lost parents. All of them united in grief, but also in pride. Their loved ones had died trying to heal the galaxy's wounds. And their deaths had taught the galaxy an important lesson. Chen Wei found her there as the sun was setting. He looked older, more tired, but there was peace in his eyes now. I am leaving Earth, he said. Going back to diplomatic work. The war is still going on, Sarah said. Yes, but maybe I can help end it. Someone has to keep trying, Sarah nodded. That is why we fought, is it not? So people like you could keep trying, keep hoping, keep believing in peace. Do you think it was worth it? Chen asked quietly. All the fighting, all the death. Did we make the galaxy better? Sarah thought about her son, about his smile, his kindness, his belief that everyone deserved healing. She thought about what he would have wanted. I think we showed the galaxy that some things are worth fighting for, she said finally. That mercy is not weakness. The peace has to be protected. That justice matters even if it costs us everything. Chen Wei smiled sadly. Michael would have been proud of you. May would have been proud of you. They stood together as the stars came out. Two old people who had lost everything and gained nothing except the knowledge that they had done the right thing. 5 years later, the war between the hierarchy and the Accord finally ended. Both sides were exhausted. Both sides had learned that conquest was impossible when the cost was too high. They signed a peace treaty on Earth, with human diplomats overseeing the negotiations. The galaxy began to rebuild. Trade routes reopened. Colonies were re-established. And everywhere, medical ships bearing Earth's symbol flew freely, protected by an unspoken understanding. Never again. A new species made contact with the galactic community. They were young, enthusiastic, eager to explore the stars. They asked humanity about the war they had heard stories about. Ambassador Rodriguez, son of the captain who had survived the Nightingale attack, met with them. He was young, but he carried the weight of history on his shoulders. "Why did you build such a big fleet if you love peace?" one of the aliens asked. Rodriguez smiled. It was a sad smile, but also a knowing one. "We built it because we love peace," he said. "The galaxy is not always peaceful. There are those who see kindness as weakness, who think that healers are easy targets, who believe that the strong can do whatever they want to the weak. So you became strong." "We were always strong," Rodriguez corrected. "We just did not want to use that strength unless we had to. We hoped we would never have to. We prayed that the galaxy would learn to respect life, to value compassion, to understand that medical personnel should be sacred." What changed? Rodriguez looked out the window at the memorial that floated in orbit around Earth. 3,000 lights, one for each person who died on the Nightingale. "Someone crossed a line," he said quietly, "a line that should never be crossed. And we had to teach the galaxy what happens when you do, not because we wanted to, but because if we did not, then their deaths meant nothing." The young alien was quiet for a moment. "Did it work? Did the galaxy learn?" "Look around," Rodriguez said, gesturing at the peaceful station, at the ships from different species trading freely, at the medical vessels moving without fear. "What do you think?" The alien nodded slowly. "We will remember this lesson." "Good," Rodriguez said. "Remember it well. Remember that humanity wants peace. But remember also that we are capable of war. And when we fight for principles, not for profit. We fight for justice, not for glory. We fight to protect what matters. And what matters most to humanity." Rodriguez thought about his father, who still woke up screaming sometimes from nightmares about the attack. About Admiral Okonkwo, who had lost her son but chose justice over revenge. About Ambassador Chen, who had buried his daughter and then worked to end the war that killed her. "Life matters," he said finally. "All life. That is why we built hospital ships. That is why we tried to stay neutral. And that is why, when someone attacked those values, we responded with everything we had. Because if we let them destroy what we believe in, then what are we?" The young alien left the meeting thoughtful. They returned to their people and told them about humanity, about the species that built weapons hoping never to use them, about the people who valued healers above warriors, about the lesson the galaxy had learned at such terrible cost. Years passed, decades, generations. The war became history. The names on the memorial became stories grandparents told their grandchildren. But the lesson remained. In the dark facilities beyond Earth's space, the fleet waited. Ships maintained by engineers who prayed they would never be needed. Weapons kept ready by soldiers who hoped they would never fire. And in the galaxy beyond, medical ships flew under Earth's protection, healing the wounded and comforting the sick, knowing that if anyone threatened them, humanity would remember, would respond, would teach the lesson again if needed. Peace is not the absence of the capacity for war. Peace is the choice to not use that capacity unless there is no other option, and humanity had learned through pain and loss and grief that sometimes the only way to protect peace is to be willing to fight for it. The memorial floated in orbit, 3,000 lights shining in the darkness, a reminder, a warning, a promise we are peaceful, but push us too far and you will learn what humanity is truly capable of. The galaxy remembered, and because they remembered, the medical ships flew safely, and that was worth everything.